Hi guys, this is the ASMR Nerd, and today we're going to be doing something that we haven't done for a very long time, and that is a soft-spoken reading from Martin the Warrior, which is a book in the Redwall series by late author Brian Jacques. Some of you may remember that many months ago, almost a year ago now actually, I think, I was reading from this book semi-regularly, but I ended up putting this series on the back burner because I had a lot of other videos that I wanted to film and limited time to film them in, and it just something had to go, so Redwall was it, unfortunately. But recently I've had a number of people request that I do another reading from Martin the Warrior, and I do enjoy doing these readings. I have a lot of good memories, good nostalgia associated with this series of books, the Redwall books. I read them all as a kid, and they're really just great little adventures. I'm not gonna do, for those of you just joining with this episode here, I'm not going to do a synopsis of what's happened so far in the book or anything. That would take a little bit of time, and honestly I don't totally remember what's happened up to this point because it was a while ago that we were reading this, but the gist of it is that they're a series of books about little anthropomorphized animals sort of living in a pseudo-medieval world and going on great adventures and that sort of thing. It's sort of Wind in the Willows by way of Lord of the Rings, if you will, I guess. Anyway, but if you are just joining now and you haven't heard any of the previous chapters, I really do strongly recommend you go back and watch those videos. It's probably an hour, maybe two hours of story so far, and they're all soft spoken, just like this, which is something again that I don't do very often, but I hope you enjoy it. There's a playlist on my channel, but I'll put a link down in the video description for you. So let's get started here without further ado. Also, quickly, just full disclosure, this is actually my second time recording this chapter. I recorded it last night, but just as I finished recording it, the my computer locked up, which I think is the heat that we're getting here right now is making my overclock unstable. So I dialed it back a bit, and hopefully I won't lose the footage this time around. If you're watching this, I guess I didn't. Okay. Oh, and an apology before we get started. These books have all kinds of crazy, wacky British accents for the most part. And I do my best to portray those as they're written in the text and sort of add a little bit of my own creative flair there. But to anybody from that neck of the woods, I am sorry for butchering these accents, but I do my best. They're just for fun. Hope you don't cringe too hard. Okay, here we go. Captain Trommenclog was beginning to feel discouraged. No matter how hard and long he beat at Marshank's gates with his battering ram, they seemed to hold up. Gruzzle, Deadjaw, Floater, and the rest were seated on the shore beneath the upturned boat, blowing for breath as they massaged weary paws. Clog struck the side of the boat with his cutlass.
"What's the matter, you lily-livered sea scum? Weary already? Come on now, hearties, up on your paws and give it one more go. She's splintering, I tell you. Why, a couple more bangs and we'll be through into the fortress."
Grizzle sucked noisily at a skinned paw. Captain, I thought you said said one more go half an hour back, and we're still charging those gates like mad beasts." Clog cocked a fierce eye at the complaining sea rat.
"You're grizzling, Grizzle, always grizzling. Now, up off the zunkers, mate, and charge the gate afore I charges you with this frog sticker."
He waved his cutlass threateningly. There was a knocking on the outside of the boat.
Captain, it's a wet paw. Come and take a look out here."
The boat was lifted, and Clog poked his head from underneath.
"Look at what, mate?"
The ferret pointed to a reddy orange glow illuminating the sky beyond the headland. It took a moment for realization to sink in. Then the pirate stoat let out an agonized wail and began tearing at his braided beard, the clumsy wooden clogs clicking together as he performed an anguished jig on the shore.
"Wah! That slime-coated scum's burning me a ship! Yar! Me loverly sea-scar, bride of me heart! Bad drang, you rotten foul-nosed worm, stinking screw-tailed stoat, warp-eyed snotty-snouted shark!"
The Corsair crew looked on in dismay as their captain gave full vent to his spleen. Hurling himself at the gates, he hacked with his cutlass, kicked with his clogs, even gnawed savagely at the woodwork with his teeth, as he yelled between mouthfuls of splinters, "I'll rip your liver and lights out and feed him to the crabs. I'll cut off your head and throw it in your face. I'll string up your tripes for rigging. I'll pickle your tail in burning brine. Ah!" Skullrag and his archers stood paw-deep in the sea, the water scarlet and gold with reflections from the blazing vessel. They blinked as ashcloth from the sail drifted sootily by in the breeze. The sea scarab was settling down in flames on the shallow bay bed, and timbers crackled as blazing pitch bubbled from seams. 2 rats who had been left to watch were draped limply in death over the gunwales, blazing arrows extinguishing themselves in their backs. With its great green sail burned away, the mast stood like a fiery beacon against the star-studded night. It cracked and broke, falling in an avalanche of sparks. The vessel heeled over, listing at a crazy angle, as seawater met flames with a loud, steaming hiss. Skullrag turned to his archers, satisfied. "There's one ship that won't put out to sea again. Form up and follow me. We'll take care of those longboats before we head back to Marshank." The wily fox did not want to attract attention from the battle area by burning the longboats. "Put up those bows. Use your swords and knives to hold these boats. That'll leave Clog trapped on the shore." Unaware that the longboats were being destroyed, Martin and his companions were heading for them, figuring to take one and sail further up the coast, where they would leave the boat and travel to Noonvale for help. Feldo looked to the fiery glow beyond the headland. "We'd better hurry. Those sea rats will be coming for the longboats to see if they can save their ship." Martin glanced back towards the fortress as he remarked to his friends, "Good guess, Feldo. There's a whole bunch of them coming this way." The dark shapes of yelling corsairs could be seen leaving the fray and making for the longboats. Martin grasped Brome's paw. "Let's put a move on, otherwise they'll catch up with us." Grum had been looking ahead towards the boats. Look it, there be other vermin by the boats, and they've seen us," he groans in dismay. Feldo gritted his teeth. "Foe beasts behind and before us, Martin. Either way's trouble." Martin sized the situation up quickly. "We can't turn back now. There's less of them in front of us. Keep going. We'll have to chance rushing them. Rose, take Grum and Brome, pick out a boat, and get going. Feldo and I will hold them off. Please don't argue, just do as I say. Right, Feldo?" The big squirrel nodded. "Right. I recognize that half-eared rogue at the boats. It's Skullrag. There's about 10 with him. Let's get at it, Martin." The young mouse and the squirrel dashed towards Skullrag's group, yelling at the top of their voices. "Freedom! Charge!" Skullrag was not sure whether the swiftly advancing pair was well armed, though he knew by their warlike cries that they intended doing battle. The fox hesitated a moment, unsure whether to meet them sword in paw or go for his bow. He lost the initiative, barely having time to shout a warning to his archers before Martin and Feldo were on him. The squirrel grabbed Skullrag's sword paw, struggling to get hold of the blade, as Martin dealt the nearest rat a flying kick with both footpaws. "Help me, help!" Skullrag was screaming. Now some of Clog's creatures spotted the activity by the longboats. They unsheathed their weapons and dashed forward to protect their boats. 2 rats went down under the hefty digging claws of Grum, and a hearty wallop from a chunk of driftwood held by Rose. Brome began shoving the smallest of the boats out into the surf, and Grum and Rose lent their weight to his efforts. Martin was holding on to one rat who was trying to stop the boat, whilst he held the head of another under the water. Feldo had a stranglehold on Skullrag, whose sword belt had snapped. Both sword and belt were lost somewhere in the shallows. The corsairs came charging in, yelling, surf splashing beneath their paws. Rose leaned over the stern of the small boat, pulling Brome in, while Grum found the oars. She began shouting, "Martin, Feldo, over here, quickly!" Thinking swiftly, Martin stunned a sea rat with a heavy blow. Grabbing a half-throttled Skullrag from Feldo, he thrust the fox at the corsairs. "Here, mates, one of Badrang's lot, trying to steal our boats!" With a concerted howl of rage, the corsairs threw themselves upon Skullrag, and another rat Feldo pushed towards them. Martin nudged his friend, whispering urgently, "Quick, into the boat!" Half wading, half swimming through the night-dark waters, they made for the boat. Grum and Brome held oars over the stern to them. "Burr, Hastinsers!" They grabbed the oars and began climbing aboard. Or as they grabbed the oars and began climbing aboard, the corsairs suddenly realized what was going on. "Those ain't sea rats! Stop 'em!" the ferret called Boggs yelled hoarsely. Martin scrambled into the boat, but Feldo was having a hard time with his huge bushy tail weighed down by seawater. The rat called Grouch floundered forward and seized the squirrel's footpaws. From the boat, Martin managed to grab Feldo by his other 2 paws, and then another sea rat latched onto Feldo's tail, and a tug-of-war began. Feldo was stretched between water and boat, helpless, his mouth filled with salt water. Rose leaned over the stern, wielding an oar. Thunk! Boff! She stunned the rats with 2 direct hits. Martin heaved mightily, and Feldo came tumbling into the boat. Whilst some of the corsairs held Skullrag and his platoon prisoner, the rest jumped into the boats and began rowing after the escapers. "Row!" Martin cried out to his friends. "Paddle with your paws, anything! Hurry! They're coming after us!" Grum sat in the stern, not moving. Rose looked at him curiously. "Come on, Grum, paddle, don't just sit there." The mole shrugged unhappily. "I can't move, Mizzy. If I do, I shall sink. I be sitting right on a girt hole in a boat." The mole sat, completely soaked, blocking the hole as best he could, with water swilling around the bottom of the boat. Brome started to laugh. Feldo eyed him disapprovingly. "I can't see much to laugh about, young'un. It's not a very funny situation we're in." Brome held his sides as he tried to paddle and stop laughing at the same time. "I'm sorry, Feldo. I can't help it. Oh, dearie me. Look at those creatures." The 2 boats loaded with corsairs were following were only going one way, down. Rose joined in with Brome's laughter. "Of course, that's what Badrang's creatures were doing, holding the boats after they'd set fire to the big ship. Lucky old us, we picked the one with the smallest hole in it." The corsairs' faces were a picture of abject misery as they bailed furiously while the boats filled up and sank beneath them. They floated about, treading water and watching the small craft, low in the water but going strong, head straight out to sea. A joyous shout rang out across the choppy night waves as the little boat pulled away. Free! So that was chapter 8 of Martin the Warrior. You can see there a little illustration of one of Badrang's vermin, lighting a fire to the sea scarab. I checked last time, and chapter 9 is significantly longer than this chapter. It looks like it's, I don't know, another well, it's not terrible. I don't know, seven pages or something, I guess. But it's pretty late, and I think it would take quite some time to read this next chapter, so I think we'll stick to the 1 chapter per video that we've been doing so far. And we'll put the old Saruman bookmark in here. And we'll save chapter 9 for next time. Quite frankly, I don't know exactly when next time will be. I'm quite confident it will be less than the 10 months or whatever it's been since the last Red Ball reading. I don't know yet if I'm going to make this a regular video again, but seeing as none of my videos are very regular right now, it's been ages since we've done a Minecraft or a Pokemon or even a Skyrim. I can't make any promises about Martin the Warrior. However, I'm hopeful that this will become a more frequent thing than it's been over the last number of months. I hope that my accents weren't too painful to listen to. And I do hope that you found the soft-spoken reading relaxing. As I mentioned, I don't do a lot of soft-spoken reading, so this is something for those of you who enjoy that in particular. If you would like a real, much better version of a reading of Martin the Warrior, I really encourage you to check out the official audiobook production, which features the author, Brian Jakes, doing the narration, and a whole cast of actors, real actors, voicing the characters, including Brian Jakes' son, actually, voicing Martin the Warrior himself, the titular character. And that's a really fun audiobook, which I've listened to and I enjoyed. And if you're enjoying the book so far, go ahead, pick it up, check out some other books in the Redwall series. They are aimed at youth, I would say, not little children, but definitely kids. And, you know, maybe up into tweens and teens, but depends on what you're into, I guess. You know, they're fairly simple, somewhat predictable stories, but I do like the way they're written. They're kind of charming and kind of fun. I think I've said enough. Again, if you just joined us here today and you're wondering what all this Redwall stuff is about and who all these characters are, I really strongly suggest that you go back and listen to the previous chapters, which are in a playlist that I'll put down in the video description. And hopefully we'll do this again soon. Thanks very much for watching and listening. I do hope you enjoyed this, and I look forward to having you here with us next time. Bye for now.